through three weeks where we're where we want to be. You're not getting enough rotation at that spot. But I think that from a play standpoint on Saturdays, I think we've held up pretty good. And so, but is that the standard to be pretty good? No, it's to obviously be much greater than that. So I've been pleased with the guys that have been have played on Saturdays. We've had this conversation several times. Is the more reps you put a guy out there in the sport, it's a difficult task, especially as much as the safeties are included both in the run game, pass game, and all those things. It's a tall order.
Are you getting to a point, though, where you can trust more guys to play safety, or are you just not there yet?
We're not there yet.
Yeah.
Alex, does what you have with Jalen Redmond and LeBron, is that kind of embody what you want to see at every position? Just two young guys that really battled every week to make each other better?
Ideally, I mean that's a real good example. I think if you could, in a lot of ways, because of performance, not because of lack of performance, but if you could, every day you'd walk into the defensive staff room and say the one became the two became the one, and the next day you flip it again, and the next day you flip it again. Now, how often does that happen? That's obviously very rare. But what that speaks to is a competitive room, competitive position battle, and two guys pushing one another. And that's only two guys on the defense. There's some other spots where that's taking place. But in an ideal situation, we tell the guys we wish we were shuffling the depth chart maybe more than we have up to this point.
Parnell has some elite stats when you look at sort of advanced metrics like yards per cover snap and completion percentage allowed. I know you guys aren't big on stats, but there's sort of more advanced stats. Do you guys take any stock into that at all?
You know what? We take a lot of stock in the video, and so what we do as coaches is we'll tell you if it's a good performance, bad performance, and obviously the stats are driven by just that, good performance and bad performance. So I certainly think they go hand in hand, but ultimately we're in the behavior business. So everything we tell them is to either curb behavior, and that's not right, or enhance the behavior that is right. And so sometimes numbers can generate that type of conversation, but ultimately the video is the tell-all for us.
You spent some time with Leach. Did he ever tell any good Texas Tech stories?
Well, good Lord, he told a lot of stories, no, not specific. I know that he has a tremendous history there. A lot of guys in this building, obviously tremendous history there. And I got a lot of respect for that coaching staff that's taken over after the job they did at Utah State, and then just had some history with some of those guys in my past as well. And so, it's a quality team, quality opponent, quality coaching staff. So major challenge this weekend.
Speaking of Leach, he held UCLA to 67 Saturday night. You held them to 14. They struggled early, but does what they did Saturday night show that, hey, that's a potentially good offense that you guys shut down pretty good?
Yeah, I think we go back to our video, and then when we start doing through common opponents and stuff like that, and try to take big picture kind of assessments. We kind of wait till the end of the season to do some of those things, and obviously there's lessons. But now I'd be lying to you if I didn't say that we take some of the games from the weekend, and certainly some lessons that we can all learn from what takes place in games that don't include us, and sometimes it's especially on the negative side of things, if someone else is going through a heartbreak, then we can learn from it without experiencing it ourselves.
Alex, through 3 games that you nickelback, what did you think, and are you trying anybody, or are you looking at some new guys there?
Well, constantly looking at generating depth everywhere, and so the nickel's included in that mix. There's been some positive plays, some plays that I think we need to make at that position that we haven't. Again, there's been plays at the Mike linebacker spot that we need to make and we haven't, and I could go on down the list. So it's not unique to that spot, but it's included in just about every spot on defense. And it goes back to what's the standard. If you set the bar low enough, you can feel good after every practice and every single game. If you decide that you're going to have a high bar, you got to be willing to say it's not where we want it to be, and we got to fix whatever issues that we have. And again, that starts with us as coaches. But we'll constantly shuffle the deck to try to in the name of competition.
You talked about the LaRon Stokes and Jalen Redmond and the competition there at that position. Overall on the defensive line, do you feel like the competition is amped up from start of the year to now?
Without question. I mean, I think that's the position group, and maybe a little bit in the linebacker room as well. That I think the most competition has kind of Has it been consistent? Certainly, as you got into fall camp and included some of the young guys, that's the spot that you saw kind of a difference. Just in terms of, again, the moving of the depth chart a little bit, and guys getting, and sometimes it's not the one going to the two, sometimes it's just simply a 60-40 rotation that turns into a 50-50 rotation because the guy behind him deserves more reps, and then sometimes that percentage gets flipped the other way, and so you're seeing that kind of across the board defensively, and again, we'd rather rotate too much than not enough, especially in our front, trying to keep those guys as fresh as we possibly can so they can play with maximum effort. And so I think for the most part, through 3 games, you're kind of witnessing some of that. No, there's still more plays to be made, and there's more plays out there for those guys, and they expect to make them, and we're ultimately going to play the guy the most that makes them.
Yeah. You
Texas
talked about corner though being that spot too. At one
I
point.
think corners in that mix a little bit. I mentioned Jaden Davis to you several times. A guy we were really, has performed, and it's all performance based. And so, and I think about Will linebacker a little bit with Deshaun White and Ryan Jones. You've seen a little bit of that there. So it's certainly not in just Nick Benito and John Michael Terry. So. As much as I can circle the positions, I wish there was more. There's certainly some spots where you're seeing it, and which is a pretty good visual for all those guys. Is if you earn it, you'll find yourself on the field, and if you don't want to come out, then you got to battle to keep that other guy off.
Alex, there's some guys on the roster now and some guys in the recent past here who played as freshmen, played as sophomores, and didn't play as much moving forward. In your experience, what causes things like that to happen, and how is it difficult to bounce back from that? Do you think?
Yeah, I don't know specifically. With guys in the past here. I mean, obviously it's performance based, and so I know at minimum moving forward that's how we approach things. So regardless if you're a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, we took zero stock in terms of who played in the past.
Yeah.
When we got here, and if you may have started the first 3 games, you have a bad week of practice this week. And we still haven't watched Monday's practice yet, but I assure you won't be in the starting lineup on Saturday. So I mean that's constant, ongoing, and it's not unique to one individual or where you find yourself youth-wise or maturity-wise if you're an older guy in a program.
Under Coach Wells, what kind of offensive team is Texas Tech?
Well, it's a spread tempo. David Yost, who I spent some time with both in Missouri and at Washington State, is probably too good of a friend. We've talked too much over the years, but they do a great job offensively. And then you go back to their time at Utah State, just efficient. They know how to attack you. They're going to get you on your heels with tempo and willingness to drive the ball downfield, and also be content with moving the chains and getting the hard yards in the run game. And so they spread you wide and spread you vertical, and then so it's. What you find most Saturdays are just a real challenge defensively to one, get lined up, get to match up versus tempo, and get your cleats in the dirt, and then hopefully perform the task at hand regardless of the position, keep the ball in front of you, and attempt to make plays.
Before you got to Oklahoma, OU and Tech, they've been playing wild games for several years, including the famous Mahomes-Mayfield shootout 3 years ago. Even last year was crazy. Even after Bowman went out, Tech kept it up. Did you ever take note of those games from afar and think, how do you deal with that if you're a defensive coordinator?
Well, I mean, it just speaks to the challenges that you face defensively in this day and age in football, and so I don't think it's unique to both Oklahoma and Tech. I mean, it only takes you to go back to this past Saturday, to kind of your point earlier is there's challenges, and when you have good quarterback play, when you have weapons at receiver, running back, one mistake defensively gets exploited and turns into 7 points. And so, you'd like to say, we don't worry about mistakes, just play hard and all those things, but mistakes cost you points. And they're not gonna give you a playoff. I mean, that's the thing that you consistently see is that there is no 3 yards in a cloud of dust, and then you can kind of wipe your brow and kind of get yourself set in the huddle. I mean, they're coming right back at you. And so the challenge is real. And again, it's not unique to us, but like I said several times, no one made us be defensive coaches or defensive players. And so we have to work every day to be successful against it.
Did you take particular note of that one game in the 66-59 game in 16?
You know, I didn't. I certainly remember back a little bit just in terms of some of those numbers that kind of jump off the page, but I don't specifically know.
That's not a game you wanna look at?
No, not this week.